Rememory is a small mystery drama sci-fi film directed by and written by Mark Polanski and mainly starring Peter Dinklage. And despite from the flaws that it has, this is an enjoyable film.
This is a terrible loss.
I just wanted to say how truly sorry I am.
How did you know Gordon?
He saved my life.
He was found dead in his office with gunshots in the wall.
Gunshots. No bullet wounds.
He was working with a lot of troubled people.
We need to find out what happened to you, Gordon. It's the least I can do.
So it's kind of interesting how this film is being released, because it is free on Google Play. So if you go to Google Play and you can download it and watch it. So this film is kind of the first released by the Google Play stores. It's exclusive to Google Play, and it's actually free to download. You know, if you haven't have the Google Play in it. I know, like, I watched it on my computer, but like I think it was using like the YouTube player. But you know, it's a full film. It's not like it's an interesting, really, way of releasing it. I don't know if they're trying to build, do more movies like that or what. But I am glad that I was able to watch it like this. So it stars Peter Dinklage, you know, from the Game of Thrones, and I really like that he, you know, his character, he's a little person, but they never bring it up in the movie. You know, that doesn't matter for this movie. I really like that, because some other times, you know, they play the dwarf character, they play whatever, that's their only part of the character that that needs this person. And this one is just Peter Dinklage as the main character. And I love that aspect of the film, because they never even mention it. And it's really, you don't have to mention it because it didn't matter for the story. And the only thing I will say about that is, in the beginning of the film, he's like, he and his brother, they're drinking, and they drink and drive, and there's a car accident. And it's his brother's car, and I don't know if he could reach the pedals. I mean, it's kind of horrible to say, but I think, you know, usually you have to modify the car. Like, I mean, especially, he probably could, but, you know, I'm not 100% sure about that. But, you know, there's cool moments with, like, Rememory, the whole idea that this guy is trying to create this device that records your memories, and that's one of the biggest problems of the film, though, because there's a sci-fi aspect, and it gets a little bit, you know, that some movies are like, oh, you only use 10% of your brain, so we do something cool now with the other 90%. And this kind of similar idea where they take a misnomer about things and they try to develop it. Because, you know, for memory, like the idea here is that because they're using this machine, you get the pure, unaltered memory from the brain that the brain has stored, and you can watch it and you can, like, grow from watching it. But the problem is that that's not how memory works for most people. With most people, like, when you have the memory, you know, the memory is stored in your brain. And every time you recover that memory, you think about that memory, your brain, like, searches for it, accesses it, and pulls that memory up. And the problem is that the memory will have degraded a little bit, and there'll be holes in the memory. So your brain unconsciously fills in those gaps. And, you know, then when you think about that memory, then when you're done with it, your brain puts that memory back, but it doesn't put the original memory back. It puts back the memory that has its holes filled. So every time you think about something, they're like, at a certain point, a lot of the memory is completely filled with like things that may not be exactly how it happened. And that's what, in the psychology world, you call that a false memory. And, you know, it feels like a real memory. And I know, like, sometimes, like, we tell stories. Like, I know when I was a kid, there's one story where, like, I was at Knoebels Park, and my mom borrowed my aunt's leash, that backpack leash that was had so we wouldn't run around, and that I pulled it all the way so it was completely taut, and then unhooked it and then ran off. And that memory, I've heard it told so many times that I almost feel like it's a real memory. But it's not a real memory. I only remember it because of the story being told so many times. And, that there's a little aspect of that where the sci-fi, I think, doesn't quite work. And there's also another aspect that makes the film kind of unbelievable. And that's, like, me, I'm being a little picky, but the device is like a little box that has like a screen that pops out. And again, the screen, well, our vision is like, we have a very wide vision, like, and a camera doesn't see like that, really. And like, that's why I think, not only is this machine recording your memory, it's also transferring it to a perfect, like, 16:9 or whatever movie framing. And it's like, that's for the movie. If you're watching a movie, it has to play the memory some way. But it's just it takes you out of the film a bit. And also, like, the thing that they put to record the memory it looks so corny. It looks like, those old headphones that had, like, the metal strap. And they put, like, an LED on the end of it. And you put it on the temple. And then again, there's no wires around the edge. So they must have Bluetooth in each one that sends the brain signal, which would be pretty large, to this, I assume it's some sort of computer, and analyzes it and transcribes it into video. And all this is done without any power cords. And that's like, it's completely wireless. And I'm watching that, I'm like, instead of selling this machine, you should be selling the batteries in that machine. That's how you make your billions. And, it took me out of the film, as I was thinking, like, I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's stupid. And for most people, it may not bother them, but for me, it took me out of the film when I saw this stuff. And I think that it could have been a lot more effective if you had, like, a VR headset. Like, you could have, like, modified a VR headset. You could have them put it on, and then that's how they experienced it. Because later on, like, sometimes when they experience the memories, they're, like, walking around them. And I think that would have been more interesting. And they also think that, they chose to, whenever he's watching the memories of the people, that basically the person that created the machine is dead. And there's a lot of mysterious aspects to his death. So that this guy feels like he owes him for something, Peter Dinklage, and he wants to find out how he died, find out who murdered him, and solve the mystery. And there's a lot, that part of the movie I really liked. I loved that part of the film. But, like, when he's watching the memories, like, he steals the machine and the memories. And that's the other thing. There's things where it's confusing for how the machine got to this one point where he can steal it. At a certain point, I thought there were actually two machines, but there's only one machine. That brings other issues, like, how would this guy only have one prototype? And that prototype, the machine, looks perfect. It looks like it's the model that's ready to ship. So he should have multiple other machines that he's worked on, but it's not. It's only the one, and that's why everyone wants it. And it's just kind of goofy. It doesn't feel real. But when he's watching these memories, they're just like a montage of different scenes, and they repeat a lot of them throughout the film. And I feel like I wouldn't quite understand if that's just how the movie is trying to express the memory to us, or is that actually what this thing records? And I think that it's just what the movie is showing us. Like, because when Peter Dinklage, he like goes into other places and he knows things from their memories and like how to unlock a safe and get a gun out. Like, then that was never shown in the memories that he watched. So I assume that that's just the visual representation of what he saw, not what he actually saw. And they actually showed like the entire memories. But it's just, there's some problems with this, how the movie works. But the acting from everyone is pretty good. And, I loved a lot of the twists and turns during the film. Especially, like, towards the end. Like, I saw some of the twists coming. But there's one big twist that I didn't see coming at all. But, again, another problem I had, though, with, like, the accident in the beginning is that like you can't really see what happened, and I think like you get more later because he's haunted by the accident and he wants to relive that memory, and you get a little bit more of the accident, but still not exactly clear what happened. And I almost feel like that the accident wasn't 100% his fault, even though he was a drunk driver. It seemed like there's some other stuff going on that it was also a bit of the other driver's fault. But as a whole, I enjoy the film a lot. It's definitely, there's some problems with it, and I think these problems, not everyone that watched it probably won't have the same problems that I did. I kept getting stuck on this machine, and how it worked. I think it would have been better if you, instead of having it's not that expensive of a film, so they went to the prop guy and say, hey, can you build us some box that could look like it could be this really amazing machine? Like, oh sure, I'll throw something together. It felt like that, and I wish it would have been either just had a computer with a VR headset. I don't know if it would have been as visually interesting, but at the same time, it just would have been more believable. But I'll probably give the film a 7.5 out of 10. And if you have a Google Play account, you should check it out. But thanks for watching, and you can check out my other video playlists around my head, or subscribe to me over here. Thanks.